Can't you see she's afraid? Hey, it's okay. You don't have to be scared. You're safe here. You really don't have to be scared. We're friends. I promise. Today, on the Comic Book Report Comics by Night, we'll be taking a look at Stray Dogs. This is one you do not want to miss. Stick around. Good evening once again, everyone. As always, my name is Dominic, and you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. All October long, we'll be celebrating the world of horror and Halloween-themed comics during our Comics by Night event, which brings us to tonight's review of Stray Dogs by Fleecs and Forstner. Before we jump into today's volume, however, we're going to be sharing a couple quick facts. Stray Dogs was written by Tony Fleecs and penciled by Trish Forstner. The issues collected in this volume were published by Image Comics in 2021. This trade paperback collects Stray Dogs issues 1 through 5, and it comes in at 144 pages. And finally, just a quick spoiler warning, I will be flipping through today's collection in its entirety as well as commenting on some of the plot points, so you've been warned. Alright, and here's the collection itself. You're taking a look at the Stray Dogs trade paperback that just came out. Now let's go ahead and take a look at all the cover art and design work. Right away, I just have to say it's such an evocative book here. I love the title itself. The font reminds me of Stranger Things, which of course pays homage to all of 80s horror. Really nice touch and sets the mood excellently. And the blurb on the front cover from Forbes magazine is hysterical. Of course, on the back cover here, you can see some other praises, as well as some descriptions of the book and a little bit of art here. Really a nice little trade collection. No real complaint here, your standard size, 5 issues. It also includes some of the bonus variant covers, which I was super excited to see a handful of those collected. Okay, and as I open the collection here, I'd love to provide a little bit of context as to how I found the collection Stray Dogs. As someone who doesn't really collect single issues, I only hear inklings of up-and-coming great series through the grapevine, and now that I've started my YouTube channel and the Instagram page, I also get a lot of great recommendations from some of the other content creators, and I'm proud to say that Stray Dogs is the first instance where I completely bought this collection based solely on the recommendations of other YouTubers. And boy, did I get my money's worth. This was so right down my alley, it's ridiculous. All I kept hearing was how there was this book that came out that has cutesy, almost Disney-like graphics or art animation style, and it's just juxtaposed with some crazy psychological thriller horror motifs. And my understanding is that this series just blew up, got so much media attention, and particularly because it has some amazing variant covers that include homages to a lot of different horror franchises. So stick around for the end, there's a couple included on the back there. So, that's how I found this series. Now, as to the story itself, Stray Dogs primarily follows this little terrier chihuahua-looking dog named Sophie, who finds herself in the care of someone named the Master. The Master brings her home to his house where he has, maybe a dozen other rescue dogs. And these dogs, we have so many different breeds like German Shepherd and Dalmatian and Poodle and all sorts of things. And again, all of these animals are done in a Disney kind of cutesy style. Most of the dogs have fun, playful, bright personalities. And by all appearances, this should be a great home for Sophie with all of these other fun-loving dogs. However, something else we learn about the character of Sophie is she has memory problems. In fact, it's suggested that all the dogs don't have a great memory. But in the case of Sophie, who's so new to this environment, she's constantly scared, frightened, and a bit confused. She's befriended by one of the most influential dogs, who kind of takes her under his wing. And throughout the first issue, even though Sophie tries to relax in her new home, she's uneasy. And at the end of the first issue, it is heavily suggested that she remembers this new master murdering her old one, much to her horror. The subsequent issues deal with the fallout of this revelation, as she tries to find proof, and the other dogs struggle to believe her claims. Without trying to spoil too much more, I'll simply say that after the first issue, this whole series begins to pivot along this psychological horror route, as the dog, or dogs, start to grapple with the idea of their master potentially being a mass murderer. For what appears to be such a ridiculous premise, Stray Dogs delivers it for real. The characters are varied and vibrant and very nuanced, and the suspense, thriller, horror aspects of this comic are just top-notch. I love how the panel layouts go and how they frame each depiction, each shot. It's very cinematic. It reminds me of being in kind of a suspense thriller horror movie. This book even covers things like trauma, victim shaming, and memory in a way that feels much more profound than you would expect given a comic book about dogs. This trade was one of my most anticipated reads of the month, and it just delivers. From page 1 to the end, I was hooked. I couldn't wait to see what happened with Sophie and the rest of these dogs. I couldn't wait to feel all the tense bits throughout it, and to see how Fleecs was going to resolve his narrative. And for my money, Stray Dogs did not disappoint. And as we approach the art gallery I promised at the end of this edition, I would just like to personally recommend, as those online did for me, that if you're on the fence about Stray Dogs, go get the trade paperback. Go check it out. It's a great little standalone story with a beginning, middle, and end, and it's just such a fun little thriller, and I can't wait to recommend this to more people. And as we come to a close here on this trade paperback collection, I think it's time I give Stray Dogs a grade. I know I probably did a poor job of masking my general praise or enthusiasm for this collection, but for its fantastic standalone value, the brilliant synthesis it has of cutesy and absolute suspense thriller horror, along with such a great little cover art gallery, the Comic Book Report gives Stray Dogs an A. It's funny, it's tense, it's a little bit horrible. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the best recommendation I have for an October read this year. If you're eager to check out something new, something a little bit off the beaten path, that gives you just the right amount of thriller, please do yourself a favor and go check out Stray Dogs. I know this actual story is done, but I'm really hoping we get a Stray Dogs too. But until next time, that's going to be it for the Comic Book Report. If you haven't subscribed, now's your time. And while you're subscribing, check out some of my other popular videos. And until next time, have a good night.